Let's talk about what is going on in France. And the main thing I've been worrying about for the last, 12 hours or so is what is the French word for schadenfreude? Because watching the man who was, of course, the EU's chief negotiator over the Brexit talks, Michel Barnier, being ousted as the French Prime Minister after just 3 months, after forcing through a new budget on social security, despite the majority in Parliament, both on the left and the right, voting against it, has led to a no-confidence vote against him last night. Emmanuel Macron returned from a foreign visit. He's making a big speech to the French people at 7 o'clock tonight, but is denying that he is willing to resign and go to a presidential election. Let's talk about all this with James Ball. He's political editor of the New European. Good morning to you, James.
Good morning.
These are absolutely extraordinary scenes in France. Does everything still just go back to, I suppose, the European elections back earlier this year, which saw Emmanuel Macron's party utterly trounced, and then the calling of that snap election that has got him into this mess?
I think it's a more specific French mess than that. I mean, they've essentially... They've got a horrible budget deficit. Their finances are in a really parlous state. And if they don't do something, they're heading for absolute emergency. But their voters absolutely do not want to do anything about it. And so they've returned a sort of parliament in 3 blocks. You've sort of got a hard right bloc that's Le Pen's party. You've got a left coalition, which is at the moment led by a guy called Mélenchon. And then Emmanuel Macron's centrists, who only have about 1/3 of the seats and have been trying to govern on their own. And that's sort of the problem. Macron hasn't been trying to make any concessions to either of the blocs. He could probably pick off some of the centre-left lot and hasn't really tried.
Well, there was an attempt early on, wasn't there? But the left and the left grouping has basically said, they've made their demands are sort of impossible to meet. I mean, the problem you've got with both the left and the right in French politics is, I would say hopeless centrists as well, if you're going to call Macron a centrist, is that their demands are utterly unreasonable. They want loads more money for everybody, everyone retiring very young, and no new taxes. Our finances here are terrible. The French public finances are in a parlous state.
There is an element of that. It has to be said. France is still trying to reverse raising the retirement age from 62.
Yeah.
This is quite young for a country with life expectancy slightly better than ours.
I know. I mean, again, they're not even working till 60. They're at lunch half the day, so I don't know why they feel the need to retire so early. But this is the thing.
But Macron could have done something here. The left proposed a quite reasonable civil servant who Macron could have lived with. And he could have peeled off about half of that coalition with that and probably had enough to get something done and last a little longer than this. As it is, the government's collapsed, but France's constitution doesn't allow an election until at least July.
Yeah.
So they can't change the composition of the parliament. They can't change... Le Pen wants to bring Macron down. If she does it now, she can stand for president. If she waits... she's likely to be disqualified from politics for 5 years because of a criminal conviction.
Yeah, and there's a hearing earlier next year about this, and it looks like Macron wants to certainly wait until later. The thing is, the whole thing was he's there was a big support for Macron for Le Pen's National Rally Party in the European elections. We saw this back with UKIP and the Brexit Party, didn't we? Back ahead of 2 general elections in our country as well. And basically he tried to sort of call the bluff of the French people and say, you don't really want these people in Parliament. Oops, it turns out they did. But this is the thing. Macron is now effectively a lame duck president, is he not? I mean, the French people have said, we don't really want you. He never really had that much support, even though he's been elected on a landslide both times round. It's because he's been up against Le Pen in the final round of 2 each time. And many people are predicting that if she can stand, Marine Le Pen would win in a couple of years' time if she was able to stand again. But how does France continue to sort of carry on when no government can pass any measures?
I mean, Macron is very good at campaigning and very good at sort of winning elections and very bad at everything that comes in between. It's as if he seems to think seeing off the far right with a sort of thumping majority gives him that kind of mandate from the people that he doesn't have. And that arrogance has just led him to mismanage Parliament time and again. But there does seem to be, the problem in France is they do need to sort their finances or they are going to collapse, possibly the whole Eurozone. and they have so many politicians willing to tell them that they can keep spending and keep ignoring it, that it's impossible to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the issue is France is on its fifth republic. It's changed its constitution 5 times to try and make the republic work, and it is now looking like the Fifth Republic might not manage either.
Not working out again. Of course, France.
It's hard to see how to get out of this.
Yeah, France is too big to fail, but Germany hasn't got the finances to help bail out. It was France and Germany, their banks, that bailed out Greece. France's economy is way bigger than Greece's, and I mean, this is the thing: they can't be allowed to fail, and yet interest rates going up on their government debt. The situation's getting worse, not better. It is a bizarre situation. Can I just ask you this before I let you go, James? About the newspaper you work for, because I understand, I think it was a week or two ago, the New European issued a list of people, their top 100 people. I think it's people to hate. It's called I'll have to paraphrase, the hit list, except there's an S before the hit. I'm not allowed to say that word in it. The hit list. My lovely colleague Mike Graham was on it. I was on it. Various people who appear regularly on the station were on it. Is that really how we do politics now? Because your side of the debate, the Remainer, Europe-obsessed, left side of the debate, is obsessed with everyone has to be kind, everyone has to be nice, and isn't these nasty, horrible, people on the right who are making, this public discourse so horrible. And then on your front page, you have a word beginning with S, rhyming with list. You have the hit list, and calling people who are politicians and public speakers a bad word. What do you make of that? Are you proud of that?
I mean, Julia, I would take it as a compliment if I were you.
I just don't care.
We've constantly been told we don't have a sense of humour, or that we try and be too high-minded and too fuddy-duddy.
But if people on the right did that, if Brexiteers did that, we would be told off.
Oh, I've had all sorts of these myself. You know that we get enough of this. We're trying to live in the real world. People want a bit of a list of who
by calling people who you don't agree with SHITs.
I've been called much worse. It's a list.
That makes it okay.
Not it is one, but it's a list of people our readers don't particularly like.
Yeah, but there's lots of people I don't like, but I don't have to insult. But anyway, look, I just wanted to attack you on that way. I mean, you can call me what you want. I just think it's a bit embarrassing. But there we go. James Ball, love to talk to you. Anyway,